Ladies and gentlemen, the outlook for Papua New Guinea is very positive. We are in a period of growth and economic expansion that has never been seen in Papua New Guinea before. At the same time, our GDP is growing. Our other areas, such as government revenue, have been impacted by global factors beyond our control. The downturn in the commodity prices is affecting Papua New Guinea and, of course, our 2015 budget, just like many countries around the world. Our government will be responsible in adjusting economic projections, including the 2015 budget. We will continue to monitor developments in the commodity prices and, of course, undertake adjustments in a very responsible manner. Our government is determined in ensuring that external factors do not impact largely on our core policy areas, particularly in free education, provision of universal health care, improving law and order, and of course, investing in key economic infrastructure. Added to this, let me say this here today. There is no intention by this government to increase in any new taxes in Papua New Guinea. We will adjust downwards our economic growth projections from 15.5% to 11% this year. I am sure you will agree with me. This is still a strong outcome for any country in the current global economy. The 2015 budget will also be revised through a supplementary budget, which will be introduced in October. But we are determined in deferring some of the non-essential spending of government. But it will be done through a careful management. And I'm certain that we will weather the storm and come out even stronger at the end of it. It is very much a wake-up call for Papua New Guinea, and I think we needed this, given all the excitement about the anticipated revenue coming from LNG and other mineral growth that we were expecting. But ultimately, our key economic indicators are very stable. Inflation outlook for 2015 and 2016 is 4.9%, which is a downward revision from the 2015 budget estimate of 5.5%. Of course, this is largely due to the low commodity prices, low imported inflation, and of course, a continued tariff reduction program, as well as delay in the implementation of the new excise indexation. The headline inflation for 2016 is projected to grow at a rate of about 5.6%. That is based on an assumption that commodity prices will improve in 2016. Despite what many of our critics may say, and let me say that they are few in numbers, some are driven by political agendas, some are driven by personal agendas, we do not have a debt concern in Papua New Guinea. Even if I were blind, I'm certainly aware that we are no way near the Greek style of debt position. Quite frankly, this is insulting and a deliberate attempt to undermine our confidence in our economy and certainly undermining our sovereignty. Let me, for the record, say this. Papua New Guinea's public debt estimated today is at around 13 billion kina, which is a debt to GDP ratio of about 33.2%. By our law, we have limited ourselves to not to go beyond 35% debt to GDP. And we are certainly operating within that limit. Let me say that we are one of the very few countries in the world that has got such a law. This is a limit that was set during the economic contraction that did not show any growth. And it was designed largely to limit public expenditure, particularly on non-productive items. And looking at this debt, 60% of it is domestic debt. 30% is concessional from our multilateral agencies such as ADB and World Bank. The balance, of course, of 10% is commercial, but most of those commercial loans are domestic loans. Papua New Guinea has never defaulted on any of its commitments, particularly loan repayments. We maintain a zero default policy. Debt servicing is the first call in our budget, and this policy will not change. Despite the challenges we face in the global economy, our structures and priorities remain very strong. We are more committed than ever to driving and encouraging private sector growth, and encouraging and facilitating foreign direct investment in our country. Added to this, one of the most important factors that will ensure Papua New Guinea is a secure destination for investment is our proven political stability. As many of you know, our government was re-elected some 3 years ago. Since then, we have maintained a strong parliamentary majority, a united cabinet, and we have the goodwill and the public support right across the nation. This has been since 2011 when we took government. Of course, we will go to the 2017 elections as a united group with plans for another 5 more years in government. But as you know, elections in Papua New Guinea is like a horse race. So the horse race in Wagani will begin. But I know on form which horse I will be betting on. The days of short-term governments in Papua New Guinea are well and truly over. The climate for new investment, sound economic growth has never been better than it is today. As an investment destination, Papua New Guinea has a lot to offer as we meet the challenges of the Asia-Pacific century. We are already making the right moves in the direction with the start of the LNG production. And of course, the second LNG project, which is to come online in the coming years. Our LNG is a secure market in Asia, and this will only continue to expand. Last week, at our meetings in India with Prime Minister Modi and many of the business community, it was made clear to me that we have a ready-made market in the Asian region, particularly in India. The first LNG project with ExxonMobil was delivered on budget and ahead of time, and it is now generating income for our country and, of course, for our partners. This project is not the end of the LNG story in Papua New Guinea. In fact, the FACTS Global Energy, an independent observer of the industry, recently projected that there will be 4 to 5 LNG trains in Papua New Guinea by mid-2022, and potentially 6 to 7 trains by 2030. Their report finds that Papua New Guinea is in a very competitive position for LNG development, and it is set for expansion. They also noted that the Papua New Guinea environment has got a high deliverability of LNG projects despite the rugged terrain of our country. In relation to investment, The same report finds that investment in LNG in Papua New Guinea has a low capital expenditure requirement and a government that is pro-development attitude. And looking more broadly, in Papua New Guinea, LNG production, there are a number of other sectors that Papua New Guinea can meet the needs of the Asian market, not only LNG production alone. Clearly, one of the greatest challenges the region faces, of course, is food security. But to do this, we need to realign what we grow and produce in the region, and of course, try and meet the demands of the growing middle class in Asia. We also need to be able to produce so that we can deliver more efficiently. Papua New Guinea's supply chain capacities are increasing, and of course, this will enable us to deliver many of this produce to this market. These, of course, capacities include the upgrading of our current airport facilities, our port facilities, particularly in Lae and Port Moresby, and of course the new Port Moresby airport terminal to be constructed by 2018. Again, this will continue to increase our capacity to move cargo into the Asian destination. There has been some neglect in the past of our key agricultural industries, and we are working together with many of our government agencies so that we can restore some of these capacities into the near future. We are trying to increase our production, and of course we are trying to increase exports, particularly for coffee, cocoa, and copra. Our government is building many of these infrastructures, such as roads throughout the country, so that we can meet the demands of the market so that they can be able to deliver their products better. Also at the national government, we are now working very hard to grow our SME sector so that we can get our people to participate more in the formal economy. Broad-based growth of SME sector is one of the most effective ways that can ensure that we provide an opportunity for our young people of today and tomorrow. Our government is implementing a 12-point plan to grow that sector. This is more focused on affordable financing, making sure that we have proper business training, and supporting the growth of that sector. Of course, there are some significant opportunities for Australian businesses to partner and mentor many of our small business sector in Papua New Guinea. One area where our government is also focusing is to ensure that we have improvement in the provision of electricity in the country. We need to substantially lift the generation of electricity if we are to increase opportunity for our businesses and business communities in our nation. This must be done through a range of energy sources, including solar, hydro, geothermal, and LNG. Already in Port Moresby, we have tapped into the LNG for the power production. Again, we thank our partners for that. Since we switched on the electricity in Port Moresby, of course, the load shedding is now a thing of the past. This means that business houses can function better, food can be stored properly, children can study in the evenings. But we need to ensure that, of course, 80% of our population and many of our SMEs must have access to affordable power in our country. And I stress that this will drive growth and, of course, increase our capacity as a nation. Before I conclude, I want to briefly mention some of the key measures that our government is now taking and, of course, that is implementing. I know that the business community will be interested in some of these key policy areas. Legislation on the Commission of the commission established in Papua New Guinea's Independent Commission Against Corruption has been gazetted. The establishment of that commission is now receiving highest priority of our government. Let me stress that no government since independence has ever given such a commitment. Legislation will be presented in the upcoming session in October, and when it comes into force, of course, it will lead fight against corruption at all levels, both in private sector and public sector. It will be totally independent, free of any political influence, tribal or regional influence. Of course, as many of you know, in Papua New Guinea, there's always a lot of finger pointing going on. And largely it's due to the fact that many of you understand we have 800 plus languages and 1,000 different tribes. We have never had a written history. There's a lot of storytelling. And of course, when you have a bit of success, you become a big target. We need structures that is driven by facts, that is evidence-based, that is open, and that is very transparent. Today, I say this to you. Many of you who do business in Papua New Guinea, that you have a government that deliberates on every issue in a very lively manner, very constructive and open and fair manner. You absolutely do not need to engage with anyone for advantage. There are no favors in cabinet, and certainly there are no favors in parliament. Everything has to be on merit. Also, we have established the legislation of the Sovereign Wealth Fund, which has been approved by Parliament in the last session. This fund will ensure that we carefully manage in a very transparent way some of the significant revenue inflows from the development of many of our resource sectors in the country. This is especially so for our LNG and of course the wider mineral sector that has been developed. Legislation also to manage the state's shareholdings in many of the mining and oil and gas developments have also been passed. This is the Kumul structure. Again, it will ensure greater independence, transparency, and accountability for those state-owned enterprises that play a significant role in the development of our country, and of course, in the sectors, in the resource sectors, the shareholdings that we have will be managed through these structures. The government has also further embarked on a significant institutional reform led by the establishment of the National Procurement Authority. This will better manage the awarding and the implementation of government contracts. Taken together, these measures represent a dramatic and of course groundbreaking changes that will deliver better and more accountable government very much well into the future. Again, these measures together will continue to reduce corruption and very much reduce the abuse and misappropriation at all levels of government and of course the private sector. Ladies and gentlemen, Papua New Guinea is a fast-growing, confident nation. Our economic foundations are very secure. Our democracy is very healthy. And the optimism of our people is very bright. These are all providing excellent basis for which we can grow our trade and investment in the country. They are the sound basis of confidence. Our people know this, and we are investing in the future for them. Let me say again, no country has ever achieved a transformation in its GDP or in its development without investing in education and health. This is absolutely necessary to empower our citizens. Together with the investment in security and infrastructure will propel our economic growth. Today, we are laying the foundations for the rapid development of our country. In the last elections, I promised to my people that I will provide free education. Today, we have 1 million additional students in schools because of that. I promised our people free basic health care. Today, there are medicines in the remote aid posts throughout the country. I promised a safer country. Today, our investment in law and order sector has reduced crime in our country substantially. I say that I will attend to delivering a better infrastructure in the country. We are building roads all throughout the country. We are building bridges, we are building airports, and we are building ports. And of course, I committed to delivering a stronger economy for our country. After 3 years, I am more focused than ever before and on delivering on that promise to my people. Once again, thank you very much for your support and look forward to doing more business with you in the future. Thank you.